Since Sir Alex Ferguson left Manchester United in 2013, the theatre of dreams has turned into a theatre of chaos. World-class managers have come and gone. Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Rangnick, Ten Hag, and now even Ruben Amorim, all struggling to restore the glory. Hundreds of millions have been poured into stars like Pogba, Di Maria, Sancho, Maguire and Antony. Yet the trophies dried up, the identity faded, and the club slipped further into turmoil. How did England's greatest football empire fall so far so fast? This is the story of Manchester United's downfall after Sir Alex Ferguson. Begin their 2025-26 season shocking recent defeat against fourth-tier club Grimsby Town. Then transition into their struggles in the Premier League. Narration should explain why Manchester United has fallen from dominance, covering mismanagement, poor recruitment, managerial instability, overpaid underperforming players, and lack of identity compared to the Ferguson era. But perhaps nothing illustrates the chaos of the post-Ferguson era more starkly than the club's catastrophic record in the transfer market. A graveyard of reputations and a bonfire of cash, the list of failed signings is as long as it's expensive. It's a story of squandered potential and a complete lack of a coherent strategy, a spending spree that has consistently failed to deliver success. At the top of this infamous list is Paul Pogba. His world record budget's 89 million return was meant to herald a new era of dominance. Instead, it became a six-year saga of inconsistency, flashes of undeniable brilliance drowned out by periods of indifference and off-field drama. He was a symbol of a club buying a global brand, not a player to fit a specific tactical system. Then there's Antony. Arriving for a staggering Pietus 81 million, the winger's predictable style and lack of end product have made him a poster boy for the club's recent recruitment failures. A high-cost investment with minimal returns, his struggles highlight a flawed scouting process that overvalued potential and ignored obvious limitations. Harry Maguire, burdened by his 74 million price tag, a world record for a defender, became a lightning rod for criticism. The pressure of the captaincy and the fee seemed to weigh heavily, leading to a string of high-profile errors that eroded his confidence and his standing at the club. Jadon Sancho, a P73 million signing, arrived from Dortmund as one of Europe's most exciting talents. But he looked a shadow of his former self at Old Trafford, struggling for form and confidence before a public fallout with the manager effectively sealed his ill-fated spell. The list goes on. Henrich Mkhitaryan, a Bundesliga star who couldn't adapt. The infamous case of Bebe, signed for over 7 million without Ferguson ever seeing him play. And Donny van de Beek, a +35 million midfielder left to rot on the bench, a tactical square peg in a round hole. And who could forget the others? Angel Di Maria, a world-class talent who lasted just one unhappy season. Alexis Sanchez, whose astronomical wages shattered the club's pay structure for a return of just 5 goals. Or Memphis Depay and Marouane Fellaini, players who represented a confused identity. Each name is a chapter in a decade-long story of mismanagement, a testament to a club that lost its way. The managerial carousel, a decade of despair. First on the chopping block was David Moyes, the man handpicked by Sir Alex Ferguson himself. Dubbed the Chosen One, he was given a 6-year contract, a symbol of the stability United was famous for. His record tells a story of a man completely out of his depth. 51 games with only 27 wins. The pressure of succeeding a legend wasn't just a talking point, it was a crushing weight that visibly suffocated him and his team. The aura of invincibility that once surrounded Old Trafford evaporated almost overnight. So why did he fail so spectacularly? It began in the transfer market. A bungled summer window saw the club publicly fail to sign top targets like Cesc Fabregas and Thiago Alcantara, ending with a last-minute panic buy of Marouane Fellaini. On the pitch, the confident attacking football of the Ferguson era was replaced by a timid, predictable and cross-heavy style that felt archaic. Humiliating home defeats to rivals Liverpool and Manchester City weren't just losses, they were statements that the Kings had been dethroned. The result was a catastrophic 7th place finish in the Premier League, meaning United would miss out on Champions League qualification for the first time in nearly 2 decades. The board, once a bastion of patience, lost its nerve. Moyes was brutally sacked before he could even complete his first season, the Chosen One becoming the first casualty of the post-Ferguson era. Next, the club turned to a proven winner, a decorated veteran with an iron will, Louis van Gaal. His 2-year reign saw 103 games, yielding 54 wins. He was brought in to restore order and identity with his famous philosophy. But his failure was one of ideology. The club backed him with a massive transfer budget, bringing in superstars like Angel Di Maria and Radamel Falcao. Yet these creative, explosive players were shackled by a rigid, possession-obsessed system. The football was painfully dull, a sterile procession of sideways and backward passes that bored the Old Trafford faithful to tears. Chants of attack, attack, attack became a regular feature, a desperate plea for excitement. Van Gaal's eccentric and often confrontational press conferences only added to the bizarre atmosphere. He delivered the club's first trophy since Ferguson's retirement, winning the FA Cup in 2016. It should have been a moment of triumph. Instead, in a shocking display of the club's new ruthlessness, he was sacked just 2 days later. The message was clear: winning wasn't enough if it came at the cost of the club's soul. If Van Gaal was the philosopher, his replacement was the ultimate pragmatist. Jose Mourinho, the special one, arrived with a guarantee of trophies. His record was the best of the bunch: 144 games, 84 wins, and in his first season he'd delivered. A League Cup and Europa League double brought a tangible sense of success back to the club. The following year, he guided United to a second-place finish, their highest since Ferguson's departure. For a brief moment, it felt like the club was competitive again, a force to be reckoned with. But Mourinho's combustible nature proved to be his undoing. His third season was a textbook implosion. He publicly clashed with key players, most notably the club's record signing Paul Pogba, and alienated others like Luke Shaw and Anthony Martial. The atmosphere turned toxic, with a dark cloud hanging over the entire club. On the pitch, his defensive, reactive, park-the-bus football felt like a betrayal of United's attacking traditions, leading to dour, uninspired performances. He was sacked in December 2018 with the team in disarray and miles behind their rivals. The serial winner had left the club more divided than ever. To heal the wounds, United turned to a club legend, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Initially a caretaker, his appointment was about restoring the United DNA. He oversaw more games than any other post-Ferguson manager, with 91 wins from 168 matches. His impact was immediate. He brought back positivity, attacking football, and a sense of hope. The incredible comeback win against PSG in Paris during his caretaker spell felt like a return to the glory days. He stabilized the club, secured a second-place finish in 2021, and reached the Europa League final. He was one penalty shootout away from his first trophy, but that loss to Villarreal exposed his fatal flaw, an inability to get the team over the line. For nearly 3 years, he couldn't deliver a single trophy. Tactically, the team often looked incoherent, relying on individual moments of brilliance from players like Bruno Fernandes, rather than a cohesive plan. After a summer of huge investment, including the sensational return of Cristiano Ronaldo, expectations soared. But a string of humiliating defeats, including a 5-0 drubbing at home to Liverpool, made his position untenable. He was sacked in November 2021, a beloved hero who ultimately wasn't up to the task. The club's next move was an intellectual one. They appointed Ralf Rangnick, the godfather of gegenpressing, as an interim manager. His record was the worst of all, just 11 wins in 29 games. He was brought in as a tactical visionary to stabilize the ship and lay the groundwork for the future. Instead, his tenure exposed just how broken the club's culture was. The players, a collection of high-priced egos, reportedly dismissed his methods. Leaks from the dressing room became commonplace, with reports of discontent and a lack of respect for his coaching staff. The high-intensity pressing he demanded was impossible to implement with a squad that was either unwilling or unable to execute it. The team's performance nosedived, culminating in United finishing with their worst points total and defensive record in the Premier League era. Rangnick's brutally honest press conferences, where he spoke of the need for open-heart surgery at the club, were more memorable than anything his team did on the pitch. He left before his planned consultancy role could even begin, a final, damning indictment of the chaos he had walked into. The carousel had spun 5 times, and the club was right back where it started, broken, lost, and desperately searching for an answer. The fall of one manager and the rise of another, a cycle that has become all too familiar at Old Trafford. This latest chapter in Manchester United's turbulent post-Ferguson era would see the club once again at a critical crossroads. The pressure had been building for months, and on one fateful October morning, the dam finally broke. The end for Erik ten Hag came swiftly on October 28, 2024. The decision followed a catastrophic run of form, including a humiliating home defeat and a listless performance against a bitter rival. With the team languishing in 14th place in the Premier League, the disconnect between the manager's vision and the on-field reality had become a chasm. Under immense pressure from a disillusioned fan base and relentless media scrutiny, the board felt they had no other choice. The Dutchman, who arrived with the promise of discipline and a return to glory, was gone. In the ensuing chaos, the club turned to a legend from a bygone era of dominance. Ruud van Nistelrooy was handed the reins as interim manager. His task was not to revolutionize, but to stabilize, to restore a semblance of pride to a fractured dressing room while the hierarchy scrambled for a long-term solution. For fans, seeing a hero on the touchline was a bittersweet reminder of what United once was, a stark contrast to the uncertainty of what it had become. Then, a new hope emerged from Portugal. On November 11th, Sporting CP's highly rated tactician, Ruben Amorim, was officially unveiled. Known for his charismatic leadership and an intense high-pressing brand of football that brought domestic glory to Sporting, Amorim represented a bold new direction. The club backed him with a contract until June 2027, with an option for another year, a clear statement of intent to finally break the cycle of short-term fixes. The question lingered. Could this be the man to solve the puzzle that had stumped so many others? With a reflective note on whether Manchester United can ever return to glory.